If I handed you a packet of tomato seeds today, could you feed your family? Most people would say, yeah, I'm just going to plant it. But anyone who has spent time in a garden knows it's never that simple. Gardening isn't about just growing plants. It's about growing knowledge, because when food becomes expensive or hard to find, you don't want your first garden to be your emergency garden. Peace, I'm the Modest Prepper, and welcome back to the Prepared Home series. Now today we are going to talk about one of the most valuable preparedness skills you can ever learn: building a prepared garden. Because food security, let's really get into why gardening really matters, right? Food security, it doesn't begin at the grocery store. That's what we see. That's the end result of someone else's hard work. It begins with knowledge. A garden teaches you so many things, so many precious skills as a human being. It teaches us patience. It teaches us planning, observation. It teaches us problem solving, self-reliance, and perhaps more importantly, confidence. And when you know you can grow every part of your own food, you're less dependent on circumstances that you can't control. So whether prices rise, supply chains struggle, or life simply just gets expensive, right? Every tomato, pepper, cucumber, head of lettuce you grow is more money that you don't have to spend. And gardening is really a skill. And one of the biggest mistakes that people make is waiting until they actually need a garden. Garden isn't something that people master in one season. You'll make mistakes. Your plants will die. I have experienced it. Some vegetables won't produce. Some seeds won't germinate. You're overwater. You're underwater. Every gardener has done it, right? And that's why the best time to start is today. Not because an emergency is coming, but because experience cannot be bought. Every season is going to teach you something new. I personally have experienced this garden. My first year, a few years ago, I started with tomatoes because I heard that was the easiest thing to grow. I put it in my front yard and I just put the seed in there in my soil, didn't know anything about it. And this tomato grew into this big bush. The tomatoes wasn't edible because I didn't check the soil. The soil wasn't right. So I learned my first year. And now I'm experiencing where I'm good at growing tomatoes. But every season is different because the first year I grew cabbage. I got a head of cabbage. I was excited. I cut into it. I saw a worm, was a little freaked out. A lot freaked out, let me be honest. But that was a process. But I was so excited to have cabbage that I grew. But then this year I'm experiencing, I feel so defeated. Here's a picture of my cabbage this season. As you can see, the cabbage worms have gotten out of control. And I've been talking to some of my, fellow friends and people that's gardening. They're trying to encourage me, just pick the cabbage worms out and spray it. And it's a little hard, so I had to get a little motivated again. But every season is going to present a different challenge, but it's something you can learn to prepare you for the next season. So as you get better, as you grow, you start to get accustomed to how gardening goes. Now, before you buy your seeds, one thing that's important is you have to know your soil. Before you build garden raised beds, just start with your soil, because healthy soil grows healthy plants. And one of the best investments you can make is just a simple soil test. I've done it, and it allowed me to see where my soil as is, where it struggled. And I learned how to pour into my soil. That way I got the pH level up enough where it was safe to actually plant inside the soil that I already have. So the soil test can tell you the pH level. It can tell you whether you're lacking nutrients, whether you need more nitrogen, more phosphorus, potassium. Instead of guessing, you'll know exactly what your garden needs, because healthy soil, it saves money because you're adding only what your plants actually need. Another part to this prepared garden is learning your growing zone. That's one thing I had to experience as well, not just trying to grow whatever, but know when is the proper time to start growing, when is the proper time to put it outside, and what's best for the zone. And every area is different. Some people can grow year round, others have a short growing season. And knowing your USDA hardiness zone, it helps you understand when to plant, what varieties grow well, your average last frost, your average first frost. And the more you understand your local climate, the better chances you have of success. And don't be afraid to ask local gardeners what works well in your area. People that's trying as hard as you. You're creating a community and you can help each other. And they often have years of experience that you can learn from. Another part to gardening is learning the good bugs and the bad bugs. I've said earlier how I have been struggling with these cabbage worms. They have really, I didn't realize it. I thought it was just, one cabbage plant. And then I didn't realize it was cabbage worms until I started seeing these white butterflies. And I didn't understand. I said, oh, it's pretty. Look at these white butterflies in my garden. This is wonderful. I'm attracting good bugs. Not realizing that white butterfly was planting the cabbage worms or planting what they needed in their area because they smelled the scent of the cabbage. So that's why my cabbage, it was growing well, but it was eating my cabbage. So it really threw me off guard. And that's the importance of learning the good bugs and the bad bugs. Not every bug is your enemy. Some insects are actually helping your garden. Ladybugs, they eat the aphids. Bees pollinate your crops. Praying mantis, they feed on the pests. And earthworms, they improve the soil. And I'm learning about that this season. This is probably my 4th or 5th year gardening. And every season I'm learning a new skill or learning something new. And this year is learning for me what bugs are good, what bugs are bad. I'm learning that the ants that I see, they actually can eat some of the aphids as well. So that helps. But there are also insects that can damage your leaves, your roots, and your fruit. And learning the difference, it helps you protect your plants without treating every insect like it's a problem. Sometimes the best solution isn't spraying chemicals. I'm not a fan of it. I won't do it. I want it to be organic. But it's also a harder job as well, but it's more beneficial. And it's encouraging the beneficial insects that nature already provides to help you with the bugs. And I'm still in the process of learning this. I will admit it's throwing me for a loop this season because previous seasons I've dealt with it. But this season, it's been challenging. Last year I dealt with squash bugs, and that was the first time I kind of was dealing with it, and it was making me cringe. And I threw the whole thing out. I tried neem oil. It didn't work. And it's been a struggle, but I'm learning to overcome it and just take what I've learned and apply it going forward. So I've also learned now that I buy the netting for the insects, and that helps too. So that's one thing I've learning to cover your plants, trying to cover it more so when the sun is not out there. So it's different things I'm trying. And of course, if anybody can add anything to it, it would help. We can definitely help each other. And the next thing I want to go into is gardening anywhere. One of the biggest myths about gardening is that you need acres of land. You really don't. I mean, you can garden anywhere you choose. You can garden on a balcony, a patio, a small backyard. You can use raised beds, containers, 5-gallon buckets, community gardens. I have tried every one of these, I promise you, even inside your home. The goal isn't to grow everything. It's to grow something. And every skill you learn today makes you more prepared tomorrow. And you don't have to try all these methods. This is just what I tried because I was on a journey trying to figure out what worked best for me. And right now I'm doing my backyard. As you can see, I turned my little backyard into a gardening space, and I'm learning by trial, and things that I'm learning that helps, I'm taking note of it, and things that I need to change or do better next season, I'm taking note of that as well. So the next section, indoor gardening and backup plans. Sometimes growing outdoors isn't practical. Maybe it's winter. Maybe smoke from wildfires affect your area. Maybe severe weather damages your garden. Or another event limits your outdoor growing. Learning how to start seeds indoors or growing herbs and leafy greens under grow lights, it can be another layer of preparedness. Even a small indoor setup, it can provide fresh foods and help you continue practicing your gardening skills year round. There are some indoor gardening systems that I have also tried. As you can see, I've tried quite a few things. The con that I've seen with some indoor gardening systems is that the self-watering ones, if you let it sit too long or if you're not monitoring it properly, it can lead to mold inside the water tank. And it's really just monitoring it and making sure we're doing what's necessary to keep the water fresh, make sure you're monitoring the plants. But that could help. Indoor gardening can be useful too. So if you decide to do indoor gardening or you have to, take a look at some of the indoor gardening systems that is out there. I'm not recommending a particular one, but just look up for yourself, do some YouTube videos and look at reviews at different gardening systems. And if you would like to do gardening, see which one helps and begin trying with that too. So what should beginner gardeners grow? If you're starting, just keep it simple. Some beginner-friendly crops include lettuce. Some people start with green beans, cherry tomatoes, herbs like basil, parsley, and cilantro, peppers. These crops, it can help you build confidence before trying more challenging plants. So I would recommend starting with something small and then you grow each season. And while we're doing that, keep a garden journal. One habit every gardener should develop is keeping a journal so you get a gist of your garden and what's working and what's not. Write down when you planted, what the weather was, what fertilizer you used, what pests you saw, what worked, what didn't. Your garden, it becomes your teacher, and every season makes you a better gardener. You just have to actually put the work in. And even if you're someone like me, I work a 9 to 5. I'm not tending to my garden every second of the day. Sometimes it's a bit frustrating for me because if it's a real hot day, when I'm going home, all I'm thinking about is my garden. Let me check and make sure, if I need to water it again. Did I water it enough before I went to work? And just worrying about that as well. But we cannot make excuses, especially in this day and time. Just keep trying. And if we need to heavily water during the warm seasons, heavily watering in the evening, or heavily watering in the morning before you go to work, it can be done. There are people out there who are working jobs and maintaining gardens. We just have to work together. We have to start and we have to learn. So here's our weekly challenge for this week. Plant something this week. I don't care if it's just one tomato, one pot of lettuce, just start. Because the hardest part of gardening is planting that first seed. We can make all the excuses in the world, right? We can say, well, I don't have a lot of space. I don't know how. I don't have a green thumb. My grandparents did that. I don't know. Just get started. Because that's not going to change if we don't try. And we try for everything else. Anything else we want to do that we don't know how to do, we will find a way. Think about that job. If you want that promotion, you try hard to get it. If we don't know something, we try to learn. We try to get a mentor. When we're trying to get more money. If we don't know something, we try to learn. So we have to eliminate all excuses. So the prepared garden isn't about becoming completely self-sufficient overnight. It's about building a skill that grows stronger every year. Every season, it teaches you something new. Every harvest builds confidence, and every seed you plant is an investment in your family's future. So in our next episode of the Prepared Home series, we'll head out into another part of the home, the prepared vehicle. We'll cover emergency kits, seasonal supplies, fuel planning, and how to make sure your vehicle is ready when you need it most. So if you found this video helpful, please like, subscribe, and share as we continue building a prepared home, one room, one skill, one step at a time. And remember, the best time to learn to garden isn't when you need food. It's when mistakes are still affordable. So until next time, next video, this is a Modest Prepper reminding you to take care, stay grateful, and prep with intention.